There are only two things that I feel qualified enough to talk about recording. Myself when I'm giving an order at a Taco Bell drive-thru, so I have evidence to talk to the manager when they invariably screw up my vegan Crunchwrap Supreme. It's amazing how many people don't know the difference between vegan and vegetarian. And also acoustic guitars. So today we're going to talk about the acoustic guitars. Just everything you might want to know about recording acoustic guitars. Whether you want to record one, whether you want to do it in stereo, whether you want to double track a mono acoustic guitar, everything. We're going to go through it, building a track from scratch in Logic. This video is sponsored by Sweetwater and Earthworks microphones. I have been a huge fan of the Earthworks SR25 for a long time. Sweetwater was nice enough to send an additional one over so I can do some of these in stereo. But I just want to talk about my process and then give you some sound examples about how a single mic will sound, where you might want to put it depending on the guitar, how that compares with double tracking a single mic into a stereo mix, all that good stuff. So let's open up a Logic track and get started and start talking about acoustic guitar recording. Alright, so let's start off with the project in Logic. That's the DAW that I use, but anything that you might use might be similar, with one exception, which we're going to talk about in just a second. But first of all, I am going to just start out by creating an audio track, alright? Now, I'm eventually going to be using two of these inputs, alright? I'm using input 3 and 4 on my interface, so I'll create an audio track. I'll make this one 3, and I'll make this one 4. Eventually, these are going to be stereo, but like I said, I'm going to give you examples of what stereo versus mono sounds like. And this project is an original song I'm working on. It is in 3/4 time signature or 6/8. That does make a difference because of what we're going to be talking about in a second. And I already know that the tempo is going to be 100 beats a minute. So that's the first thing you have to determine is the tempo, right? Good way to do that is just to like play it and then hear the click, right? And then maybe play along with an acoustic guitar. Now, one of my favorite features about Logic is this guy right here. It's a drummer, okay? I was slow to come onto this, but this is definitely one of the reasons that if you're thinking about choosing between a DAW, you might want to use Logic, is because drummer is fantastic. You can just kind of, like I said, I just picked a random alternative drummer, and then it kind of comes up with a little groove that is already tempo synced. And then I can like actually just like play to that. I'm gonna turn it up a little bit. All right, so there's a lot of different types of drummers you can pick. I like Gavin here because it says, although worried that his music school training will ruin his street cred, Gavin plays complex indie rock beats on a gritty sounding kit. So I like that Gavin feels a little bit of shame from his classical training, but he still knows what he's doing, all right? Now, depending on what you might want to do, you can use this spot right here to make the groove more complex or simple, right? You can also add the amount of fills. Which is an egregious amount of fills. This is Gavin just playing around. Come on, Gavin, get it together. Turn the fills all the way off, and then you just end up with what is like a pretty sick groove to track to. All right, so now that I have that, I have just something that's a little bit more of a musical metronome that reminds me of the beat in just more of an organic way. So I really like Logic Drummer, just because it already has something I can just copy and paste the whole way through, and then I can play whatever parts that I want to play, all right? So we have that. I'm just gonna record ARM inputs 3 and 4, because those are where the preamps are and where the dual Earthworks Audio SR25s are set into. And we're just gonna start hearing examples of how different types of acoustic guitars are gonna sound. All right, so start recording. I have a Taylor 816. I think this is the guitar that's going to work best for this track that I'm working on. First thing you're going to hear is just a single microphone pointed at the 12th fret. That's something you might hear a lot, pointed to the 12th fret. Well, I think it actually depends on the guitar, right? I've used a lot of smaller body guitars, and when you point at the 12th fret, you lose really all the bass that small body guitar is kind of trying to give you. But for this one, I think it actually does work pretty well. So just remember, a lot of the advice you're going to get on the internet or on YouTube is somewhat contextual, okay? This is just kind of like a medium-sized guitar, not too big, not too small, Goldilocks, just right. And we're just gonna go through the chord progression a couple times, and then I'm gonna add in, after a few times around, a stereo mic, okay? So I'm gonna have this pointed a little bit at the bridge, and you're gonna hear what it sounds like after just 3 times around. All right, so here we go, let's do it. I do want to point out one thing that you might run into in stereo recording is phase issues and phase cancellation. So since I have 2 microphones, technically at 2 kind of, like the sound is hitting them at microscopically different differences in time, so the waveforms might not be perfectly lined up, therefore they might cause like certain cancellation issues, okay? I just want to really quickly demonstrate that by just playing a few bars of each one and then switching the phase on one of the microphones just so you can kind of hear what phase cancellation might sound like or what phasing issues are. But again, if it's like slightly out of phase, I don't think it always sounds terrible, but you should know just what it sounds like. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about, what if you just double track one microphone in each spot, okay? So again, if you're not as lucky as I am to have gotten these from Sweetwater, where I have to and I can do stereo, maybe you could just do one at the 12th fret and then replay the exact same thing to the best of your ability at the spot of the second mic. So we're going to compare that with a stereo mic and then one mic just double tracked. So this will actually be 2 different performances, one panned left and one panned right. And another thing you might want to consider is actually double tracking guitars with different chord voicings, okay? So that's where it helps to know your music theory a little bit, know how to kind of navigate different chord voicings. For instance, the part that we're going to do now, I'm going to do one microphone, single placed, just as regular C, major 7 chord voicing, 3rd fret on the A string, 5th fret on the D string, 4th fret on the G string, 5th fret on the B string. And I'm going to go up to E major 7 by sliding that same shape, just 4 frets higher. So now I have 7, A, 9, D, 8, G, 9, B, and then A major with an open B and E on top. So 5E, 7, 7, A and D, 6G, open B and open E. Alright, so that's going to be C major, 7, E major, 7, A, with a B at 9. And then the other microphone, I'm going to come back and double track it, but not the same chords, but the different chord voicing. So it'll be like C major 7, E major 7, A major 7. And we're going to see, we're just kind of like combining different things, how that's going to maybe yield a different sonic result. Alright, let's add one more voicing with chords even higher up the neck. So triple tracked. I think that's a cool rundown of a lot of the things that I do when recording acoustic guitar. I think the point to take home from all this is that, like, there's no right or wrong way to do it as long as you can get it to sound good, you know what I mean? Whether it's really trying to do a pro-level job, no phase issues of stereo recording and capturing one performance, or layering a single microphone on top of each other with different chord voicings and different kind of, ways to take a progression, take it to different places. It's really just about using your own creativity, but it definitely helps to have the right tools for the job. So definitely, I strongly recommend you checking out an Earthworks SR25. Get it from Sweetwater. They're one of my biggest supporters. Thank you again to Sweetwater for sponsoring this video and sending it over. And if there's anything else that you want to maybe learn about recording stuff, I'm going to be adding to this song and kind of like doing everything else on it. So any questions, let me know if you have. I really like that Logic drummer thing. One of the reasons that actually I set the project up to 6/8 instead of 3/4, like I was talking about before, it'll change how the drummer reacts in the groove that it comes into, right? So, that song is like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's why the drummer groove kind of defaults to like kick, snare, right? Where if it was in 3/4, it'd be like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then it doesn't really breathe as much. So that's one reason you might want to set a project into 6/8 as compared to 3/4, because sometimes you will have plugins or even like virtual instruments that will react to that in a different way. So again, thanks so much to Sweetwater and Earthworks microphones. If you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot.